Happiness at 2 to 1, Arklan 12 to 1, Frank Stamper 14 to 1, 60 plus 20 to 1, Far Far Out 66 to 1, Digger 1 125 to 1, and Ice to Meet You, the biggest price of all, at 200 to 1. So a wide range of prices on display here as the runners make their journey back towards the 1 mile, 3.5 furlong start. Have a very enjoyable evening with us here at Windsor. The first race is due off at 6 o'clock, which is in around about 3.5 minutes' time. Have a great evening. Yeah, this is a bit lopsided, even more so after the removal of Sharp Move. So the two that obviously capture the majority of the market are Trop-Bien, who has had 2 starts to date, building on a Newbury debut, which threw up 4 next time out winners. And so his position of 9th might have been slightly more creditable. And then running at Sandown, staying on over 10 furlongs. And this is the first start at a mile 3.5. And Trop-Bien is highly likely, one would imagine, to be the most likely winner, as the market clearly suggests. There on the big screen, you can see how the market's developed. Trop-Bien, £2 profit for every 5 that you stake. Happiness 2 to 1. Each way shape of the race gives Arklan 12, 16's Frank Stamper, 22 60 plus, and 66 is Far Out. 125 to 1, Digger 1, and 200 to 1, Ice to Meet You. And just something we say regularly with these sort of shapes of market, with 3 dead places for the dead 8. If you do fancy an upset, then do go and check out the exchange prices, which, as they operate separate win and place markets, will be significantly bigger for horses like Frank Stamper, 60 plus, etc. So mentioned Trop-Bien. Let's have a quick chat about the chief market rival, which is Happiness, who was a bit keen on the way down to the start, has run over 1.5 miles when finishing 3rd at Thirsk. That was only a run-of-the-mill sort of race, and the form lines aren't as strong as Trop-Bien's 4 next time out winners. Trop-Bien in the maroon colours, or the claret colours of Lady Bamford, and the chief market rival Happiness, who isn't quite as substantial. She's a filly. She's just arrived there in the green colours. You can see she doesn't have the same build as Trop-Bien, and that's not necessarily a deciding factor. Fillies quite often will be more slight, and Trop-Bien, being still a colt, probably carries more condition than a few of the geldings. You can see alongside, for example, Arklan in those very pale colours. A gelded son of Palace Pier, who's making debut at the age of 3. And this is the issue. We're halfway through the season now for 3-year-olds. So if you haven't won a race, which none of these have with Sharp Move coming out, then there have probably been some bumps along the way, especially if you've been trained by someone like Eve, who's pretty good at getting them up and ready. And even though Palace Pier might require a little bit more time than some, you'd have expected the horse to have seen a racecourse by now. So a few of these, say, with various profiles, Frank Stamper, and also 60 plus, experienced in other spheres, hurdling, etc. Runners going into the stalls then. 60 plus has gone forward. Happiness joins in company with Far Far Out, who is highly likely to be getting a handicap mark after this. Well, will get a handicap mark after this, and has more plausible chances. So Far Far Out be joined by Arklan and 60 plus. 60 plus in the stalls. Arklan about to slide in between Far Far Out and 60 plus. Arklan just about to be pushed forward. Happiness in the stalls already, about to be joined by Frank Stamper. Digger 1 about to move in as well. So Digger 1 about to join Happiness. Frank Stamper in the stalls as well. So we're loading pretty steadily now. Two more to go forward. And they are Ice to Meet You and Trop-Bien. The last one forward is Ice to Meet You. All set for the Ronald Fletcher Baker Novice Stakes. 1 mile, 3.5 furlongs, and they're off and racing. Slow away was the debutante Arklan, and just showing signs of inexperience early. But Happiness is well to the fore, and Frank Stamper is another. And moving up on the outside, the short-priced favourite Trop-Bien to take a handy position. So Happiness, Trop-Bien, and Frank Stamper just ahead of, in fourth place, the pink-looking jacket of Ice to Meet You. Second half of the field is made up of Digger One, who is on the inside of Far Far Out. Arkland still towards the back with 60 plus as they make their way across the intersection. And we've just now got just over a mile to travel. The lead disputed by the two market principals, Trop-Bien in the claret jacket, Happiness away to the right-hand side in the bottle green. Racing in third is Frank Stamper as they cross the intersection. Fourth place to Ice to Meet You, was just nudged along to hold the position. Digger One races in fifth. Sixth for Far Far Out, then Arkland, who's got past 60 plus, as Happiness is now taking the lead by around about a length or so as we move into the bottom bend. So Happiness under Ross Orion goes on. In second is Trop-Bien, with on that one's outside Frank Stamper. Fourth place belongs to Ice to Meet You, just ahead of Digger One as they make the turn. And Ross Orion, having got to the front, will now just try and steady it down. In the pocket at the moment is Trop-Bien, covered up by Frank Stamper. Racing in fourth, Ice to Meet You with Digger One. Sixth place for Far Far Out, and then Arklan, as it's Happiness who'll lead the turn back towards home. So Happiness, Trop-Bien still travels strongly in the leader's slipstream. Frank Stamper in the orange and black in third place as they now made the turn for home and are inside the final 5 furlongs. Ice to Meet You, Digger One, Arklan on the outside of Far Far Out, and 60 plus is still the back marker. Happiness leads Frank Stamper. Trop-Bien's just happy enough to give up a little bit of racing room in order to try and challenge, but was outpaced a little bit when that lifted as Happiness is taken on by Frank Stamper. Trop-Bien in third place is being ridden along now. Racing in fourth place on the outside is Digger One. So it's Happiness who's making the best of her way home. She leads from Frank Stamper. Now Trop-Bien is asked to try and use that big long stride up the centre, but isn't getting there at the moment. Frank Stamper still has the lead. Trop-Bien in second place. Happiness begins to fade away. Frank Stamper for the shock. He's holding on from Trop-Bien on the run to the line, and it's Frank Stamper. Frank Stamper for Tony Carroll and Marco Gianni turns over Trop-Bien. Third for Happiness, back in fourth place Digger One, and then Arklan in fifth.